One of the reasons why most of you hit SEO, you see why? Okay, I'm going to start in a minute's time. And you'll come to my DM, I trade hit SEO and go my way. Yeah. Okay, we're going to start. Let me record. I've been recording since. All right, so like I said, let's continue with our markings, right? Let's continue with our markings. Right now, I can't take a trade from these two zones, though they are valid zones, but then I can't actually take that trade because I just can't. Yeah, I would like to look for a well-defined trade until I can execute that thing. But then all of these things have various ways you can take your trades, right? You could see here the first entry point, the second, right? And even at this point, you had another entry, right? So here there is something that happened here, more of like the usual thing that the normal thing that makes people hit SL, right? You know, of liquidity. If you check Crypto Digest, this thing, Telegram channel, right? The first set of TA program we had during July, I talked about basic liquidity, equal highs and equal lows, trend line liquidities, all of those types of liquidities, right? When we talked about trend line liquidity, we see things there. I showed several examples, right? So you can actually look up to that. But then this one here is the trend line liquidity. So here is equal highs, right? Equal highs at this point. Let's use dollar signs to represent the equal highs at this point. Most of you will ignore this thing, right? And then you pick your entry from this candlestick, from this other block. This is the first mitigation, right? And this is a new order block. It will hold though. It will hold. It even did something corny at this point. It gave you a confirmation to hit another SL. Right? At this point, it gave you a little confirmation at this point. And even if you are taking this thing, price will still take you out because we still have liquidity lying here. So price is seeking to grab this liquidity, right? Price is seeking to grab that liquidity. That is what price wants to grab before going out. So any entry below this liquidity will be taken out swiftly, right? So any of these entry that you are taking, you will hit SL, and then this is when you'll be saying that price hits SL and go your way because you didn't take note of liquidity areas the price has liquidity in it, right? So and price will take you out, and then if your TP was here, if your TP was this one here, your TP was this one here because price should take out that low, right? If your TP was there, price will the price took out the low. If yes, we grab it at it. So if your TP was there, you will hit SL and price will go your way. But then look at what happened there. After price took out that so price will take your this thing, we take your SL and go your way, right? But then look at after price took out this buy side liquidity, right? After price took out this buy side liquidity, we call this a buy side liquidity. Why this one is sell side liquidity, right? Now this is what I cannot start explaining for you, buy and sell side liquidities. But then here is the buy side liquidity and here is the sell side liquidity, SSL and BSL, right? In magnets. magnet. Right, here is one here is the sell side liquidity, right? An SSL. Sell side bottom. Yeah, why here is a buy side liquidity. So after price grabbed the liquidity, what happened? We sold to the downside, right? Price seeked for liquidity, and then I think it's even filled its FVG, right? But then all these things are order block. The entire of these things are your entry, right? All of these things here are your entry to sell to the downside, right? So and sell price, the price sold from that point, price sold from this point, and then you target that other region, you target the low. This is the low you're gonna target, this low here. That is a weak low, price will clear that low out. So if you see one of the lows you targeted at this point, and then price cleared it out as we continue to trade. Right, so this is one example here. I've just shown you how to flow with trend. You saw how we flowed with this trend from an uptrend. We traded the fractal trend, we traded the minor trend, right? And still continue with the uptrend like that. So keep flowing with the trend. Don't try to, before you flow with the trend, you must be able to identify what trend you're trading. If you don't check back at the old, if you don't check on what has happened before, you won't be able to tell. Right now, this is another one here. This is another one at this point. Who is this person? Isaac, something like that. That person has said buy stop loss and sell stop loss. Yeah, please DM me on WhatsApp. DM me on WhatsApp. Yeah, so let's continue. Okay, here is another one, another example like that. Here is another example of liquidity located at highs, right? Liquidity located at highs. Here there is a hidden order block here, a hidden order block at this point, right? A hidden order block, and we had another supply zone. We have another supply zone here. Yeah, send the DM. We have another supply zone at this point, right? Now, before we explain this trend, before I explain this major trend, right, recall there are minor trends inside these major trends. When I mean minor trend, all of these little structures here, right? So you can actually trade them. Now, if I'm to trade this thing, you see something here that occurred. Something here that occurred in this price. We had our BOS, right? We had our BOS here. Remember, we hit our TP here, right? And now here is a new trend that formed, right? We have our BOS at this point. Your BOS to the downside, right? Another BOS to this downside. Another BOS to the downside again. Your BOS again to the downside. Now inside this BOS, you have the change of character, right? Sorry, a change of character, something that occurred here, right? Something that occurred at this point. A change of character. You won't see it well. We had a change of character here, right? A change of character. Let me extend this BOS to be to, right? Now we had a change of character at this point, right? This change of character here, this change of character down and a change of character to the upside, right? And a change of and a change of character to the upside. Now here is a valid supply zone to sell from, right? Here is a valid supply zone to sell the market from. Now, if you don't want to use this entry, if you're waiting for confirmation entry, yeah, there is a confirmation. Who is that? Yeah, I know many people have problem with them because it requires you to think like, you don't actually need to think like, you need to think too deep. Yeah, it's something that requires mastery, because if you come to your chart, you won't be able to see them inside, right? You only be seeing entries like this, all of these big entries. If you can't spot them, you only be seeing obvious entries like this. People that see obvious entries, all of this kind of entry, right? All of this kind of entry that they do like this. all this kind of entry. Then when we get here, we also explain this setup here. This one, when you're trading like this, it's cool because it works. But then you can do more than this. Yeah, you can do more than this. Yeah, when we enter there, you see how we show you things that are played out there, right? I think I've shown this structure before, so I'm familiar with so. So um we had price mitigated this point, right? And after price tapped on this supply zone, now you have one POI to sell, which is here, right? The first POI for you to sell this trend, right? The first POI for you to sell the market to the downside, which was this POI that price tapped on, this supply zone that price tapped on, right? And are we gonna say the first POI that price tapped on, right? So let's keep it coming. The first period that price tapped on. Now, let's say you don't want to use this entry directly, right? There is also another entry inside of it, a confirmation entry, right? There is an actual confirmation entry inside of it. So let me zoom. I want to zoom because you won't be able to see it without zooming. Now, here is another change of character, right? Change of character to the downside. Here is a change of character to the downside, right? And here is another change of character. And here is another change of character to the upside, right? So here is another change of character. And price provided with an order block instead of this change of character. Price provided with another block to sell to the downside. Pardon. An order block to sell to the downside, right? An order block to sell to the downside. Price provided with an order block to sell to the downside. Now, this order block is what you're going to use. This other block is what you're going to use to sell the market. Since you do want to use that first entry, this is your confirmation entry. Remember, confirmation entry, time frame doesn't apply, it all works, right? As it works in higher time frame, you see it will play out in lower time frame. So you see that there are two entries there, two entries, and this confirmation was a much bigger RR, right? You saw our price sold from there. Most trades you guys see me do one ratio 25, one ratio 23, or one ratio 10. I mostly do one ratio 10, right? One ratio 5, one ratio 5. Yeah, it's the same way we trade them. Same way we trade them. You need to have an edge, right? Something that you follow. And look at how I've been able to drag the trend from this point to this point, right? And if I'm to continue, these minor trends, we have BOS in them, right? We have BOS in them. We have BOS in them to show you the price. Okay, we are still in lower, we are still selling, right? As price keeps breaking structure, we keep selling. As price keeps breaking structure, BOS down. I'm marking all these things for the newbies here that don't understand markings. Okay, BOS down. Right, so we have price breaking structures to the downside, price breaking structure to the downside, price breaking structure to the downside. This is the BOS, right? When we wanted to reverse price broke structure and then broke a high, something like a change of character, right? But then we've already hit TP, so you'll be able to see these things very well once you've stayed on the charts for a very long period of time. But then price release come for this week. This is a week low. So you saw what happened there, you've seen what happened there. And after we had this trade delivery, right? After we had this trade, even look, if you had missed that entry, there were several entries here on lower time frame. You would have chosen to use this one to get another third entry, right? And the last entry here, the fourth one, where price cleared this high, price took out this high, right? Okay, this one is not really visible because it's not really visible. But then look at the other block here. Price tapped on that other block and sold to the downside. right? So this is the internal structure, what's happened there, all the things that played inside of this structure. So now let's look out for this other one that happened there. Like I said, buy and sell side liquidity. Price takes out the buy side. Price takes out the buy side liquidity, and price comes for the sell side liquidity. Right? I can't explain that right now at the moment for you. It will take longer time. So this is the chart that price took out liquidity from. Right? Price took out liquidity from this area. This area that price took out liquidity by grabbing that high, by grabbing this high. Right? We had our entry points there, right? We had our entry points. We have an entry there. We have an entry. We have an entry there because as price grabs liquidity, right? Price will tend to reverse. And in the process of reversing, you only see an entry. And this is a change of character in form of an entry there. A change of character in form of an entry, right? A change of character. A change of character in form of an entry presented to you there. A change of character in form of an entry presented to you there, right? Change of character down, and then change of character to the upside, sorry, down, and then up. And here is the order block to sell the market. Here is the value supply zone. And what did price do? Price will sell to this. After price has taken out that high, price will seek to take out the low, right? Because there is liquidity there. There is one thing with buy and sell side liquidity. Whenever price takes out the buy side liquidity, price will come for the sell side liquidity to take it out, right? It always happens. And whenever price takes out the sell side liquidity, price always come back to take the buy side liquidity, right? This is what you see, like more of like the market scheme. Things that one should share, things that repeatedly keep happening in the market. Systems like this, you keep seeing them happening in the market. Now, how many? Let me check the duration of this trade. This is, let's say, 7 days to deliver, right? 7 days to deliver. Even inside this trade, there are several entry points forming there. There are several entries forming inside this thing. There are several entries forming there, right? There are several entries forming inside this thing, meaning price can be selling and you see people buying. That is why sometimes I may send you, someone can be buying, you'll be selling, right? Okay, let's say trader A took this trade, a sell trade, right? You see that trader B can also be long in inside. Trader B can capitalize from this zone here to this zone to make profits, right? While trader A can capitalize from here to here to make profits. Both of them are traders trading different direction of the market, and they are making their profit. So trading is subjective. People have their own bias, and it's by random, right? So let's go back there. Let me show you the internal structure, things that formed inside of this structure. What we have inside there, right? What we have inside there, and do some things there. I think this chart seems very familiar to me. I mean, this Solana chart seems like I've done something here before. All right, so we have price clearing this low, right, before price reverse. This is a POS, right? A POS to the downside, another POS again, another POS again, another POS to the downside. And now at this point, we had our change of character, right? Price took out that high, price took out this high, we had a change of character. We have a change of character to the upside, right? And this was what broke this structure. You mean this one entirely was what broke that structure. This one entirely was what broke that structure. Now there is something about other blocks. Checklist for choosing a valid order block. Someone should write some checklist there if you can recall. The checklist for choosing a valid order blocks. Because now in lower time frame, you see several other blocks. Look at the example here. I don't know if you can see this thing clearly. Let me make it better. Okay, look at an example here. You see several other blocks in the chart, several other blocks. That is one thing that some persons hate in trading lower time frame. Most persons doesn't trade lower time frame because almost everywhere you go, you see other blocks, right? checklist for choosing. Yeah, and other block must sweep liquidity. It must break structure. Sorry, yeah, we must have a BOS, right? It must sweep liquidity, break structure. It must be coming from a previous demand zone or supply zone, or from a prior OB, things like that. Yeah, from our previous program, we talk things like that. So, and here we have a change of character, right? And in this change of character, though this one you won't consider it a valid demand zone to buy from, because we haven't broken this structure. So you buying from here will be quite risky, right? You buying from this demand will be quite risky. But then this demand zone here did something. It's clear liquidity. I mean, this second one here, right? It's clear liquidity. It's cleared liquidity. It's clear liquidity there, right? And then broke structure, more of like a change of character, right? A minor change of character occurred at this region. Let me use this week right here. Occurred at this region here. Occurred at this region. A change of character, right? A change of character to the upside. So you will see that as price clear liquidity and then broke structure and then broke this structure, more of like a change of character, right? This demand zone here becomes a valid demand zone to buy from, right? This demand zone here becomes a valid demand zone to buy from, right? Now we also have let me check I think I need to check what is name again. Let me check 15 minutes time frame or something. 15 minutes time frame. Where the fuck is that chat? Oh my gosh. 15 minutes time frame. Where is those chats? Away. Okay, I think it's somewhere below. Who can remember what the price of? Oh, we can't go further. Wow, seems like it only works for this thing, a paid premium trading view. I wasn't quite aware of that. I don't use premium trading view because some persons believe that without premium trading view, their trading is not perfect. They believe that they must have a premium trading view for them to back test, and I prove them wrong, because me here I back test every day, most of the times, and then I don't back test with premium trading view because I know what I'm looking for when I'm back testing. So, and you too, you can actually do the same. I wanted to show you a breakdown of the structure from 15 minutes time frame. But then you saw this on demand zone here, and but then price both from an imbalance, right? Price reacted from an imbalance. Price reacted from an imbalance. 15 minutes time frame, we'd have seen this thing very clear. Price reacted from an imbalance, right? And in this imbalance here, we broke structure, a minor BOS at this point, right? A minor BOS. What I'm looking for is supposed to be in 15 minutes time frame, not here. So, but then it was fucked up. But then let's continue. We had a minus BOS at that point. In as much as price was still sitting in an imbalance. Remember, price can buy from I said something, an FVG or an imbalance can serve as a demand zone, right? An FVG or an FVG can serve as a demand zone or a supply zone. Another block can serve as a demand zone or a supply zone, right? A breaker block can do the same. Yeah, and several other blocks, right? Yeah, so now we have another one here. This one, clear liquidity. Clear liquidity. Look clearly this week here, price took our liquidity from this low, right? And then we are being provided with a valid order block here to buy from. A valid order block here to buy from, which may not see clearly because a valid order block to buy from, and we bought from that region, right? We bought from this region, same region. We bought from this region. You know, you set your TP target in this high, right? You set your TP target at that high, knowing that price will come there and pick up that high. Price will come there and pick up that high. Why this one? This is another demand zone, another valid demand zone present. and price reacted to it. Price reacted to that demand zone even before failing, right? Now, let me give you a little time to look out for these structures I marked here before we continue. So these are just some ways you can approach the charts and capitalize on them, right? Now our uptrend still continues. Our uptrend still continues. The uptrend still continues. This is a BOS, right? We had another break here. We had another break here, and this one was like a change of character, right? This is a major change of character. A change of character. We started reversing down. A change of character to the downside. Look at again at this point, price bought from an imbalance. Look at this region here, price bought from an imbalance. It should tell that price can buy or sell from an imbalance, right? Imbalances can serve as demand and supply zones. We broke structure, right? Price bought from a demand zone, another demand zone. But price didn't even buy from the demand zone, it was from an imbalance too. So a minor FBG there. But then let's assume we bought from here, right? And then not just assume because we did using the full order block, right? Here is a change of character. We are about to reverse to the downside. We are about to reverse to the downside. A change of character to the downside, right? Anytime change of character forms, price is likely going to reverse. Yeah, so and we had our demand zone. We have our supply zones here. First supply zones. A supply zone, we must clear liquidity, right? Price must take our liquidity. And we had that same thing here. So I'll be rounding up here. I should be rounding up because I've been talking like someone that doesn't want to end this section. I should be rounding up. Let me just show you the last thing here. After I finish this chart to the current price of Solana, but then let's round up. So we kept having the same structures. These are all internal structures. Price break structure. Here is a BOS to the downside, right? And a valid supply zone to sell the market. We had several other blocks to sell the market from. Right, the first one, the second one, and price sold from that zone. We sold from this region here. We sold from this region. Right, price mitigated the block and then we sold to the downside. I think that was the last place that you could see that either these two places, if you hadn't find entry here to sell from, you would find entry here, right? You see what I'm saying? You find an entry here to sell from 1:15, 1:12. So these things are used there on the chart. This section will be ending in 10 minutes time. I think the next session I will host will be the end. Yeah, because it's already 2 hours. So and as price just mitigated this region, we sold to the downside. Now, like I said, after this section, like at the end of this section, if you want to learn trading from beginner to advanced, right? Yeah, you can send me a DM on WhatsApp. Please do not just go straight to the point, right? You can send me a DM on WhatsApp. Yeah, not really free, for my trading and mentorship, right? So I'll be hosting the next section to make sure that I completed this section before we end for the day. So the next link I will send, that will be the end. The next link, so let's just finish up the structures here. Let's finish up the structures here. The next link, so I should better end this one here. I'm ending this and I'll be rehosting.